Hey guys, this is Joshua Seth, voice of Tai on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Secrets.
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin Force. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Ridwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Toku Secrets Podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today we are once again back to review Engine Sentai Go-Onger. This is our 6th installment in the Go-Onger series. Last time we were at Go-Onger, we took a look at episodes 21 through 25, and today we're taking a look at GPs 26 through 30. A lot happened last time because we not only had a lot of big things happen, but we also had to upgrade the tier rankings. But this time, not to say that nothing happens here, but it's gonna be a bit more of a smoother ride. But yeah, let's just jump right in. So to recap what happened last time, so Jumbo Whale, who was the Go-On Wings' mentor, he began encouraging the Go-On Wings to work with the Go-Ongers because he felt really intrigued. And eventually the Go-On Wings, they discovered that, yeah, the Go-Ongers are kind of idiots, but that's actually kind of a strength of theirs. And that resulted in them kind of developing a more warmer relationship. And with this new relationship, the Go-Ongers and Go-On Wings gained the ability to combine all their engines together to form Engine G9 formation. And meanwhile, in the villain's world, Hiramechimedes, who was desperate to prove himself, he tried to go forward with this ultimate plan to defeat the Go-Ongers, but didn't work. He was defeated by Sosuke. He briefly returned as a ghost and merged with a demon from the samurai world, but then the Go-Ongers defeated that, and he was basically killed for good. And because he died, Yogostein was driven into like this vengeful rage and depression, and he's now all about trying to get revenge on the Go-Ongers. And that brings us to where we are now with GP26 Love Relationship. This is a filler episode that is centered mainly around both Saki and Mew. And a couple of things to note here. So Bear RV confesses she's in love with Jetros. Yep. That type of episode. And a bunch of shenanigans ensue. Some things to note. We find out in a flashback that Mew was a bit more feminine and kind. Originally, she was very feminine in nature, but then she had to become stronger in order to become a Go-On Wing. Jetros really urged her to do that. Mew is hinted to have feelings for Sosuke in this episode, since there's a point where Saki is asking her if she's ever felt love when trying to encourage her to help Bear RV and Jetros get together, and she flashes back to a moment where she was concerned for Sosuke. So yeah, that's interesting. And the only other thing to note is that this episode was not adapted into RPM at all. So the monster Nigoro Zo Are Lumbra, I don't know how to pronounce it. That monster was not in RPM. So yeah, what do we think about this episode, guys?
First of all, Archimedes 2.0, carry on.
Yeah, that is true.
There was a moment when we were talking about Saki a few
podcasts ago, where I said that she gets better when Mew gets introduced, and this is kind of the episode that starts their girl power duo, which is one of the best things about this season to me, because no other Sentai season really, gives like the girls their own tightly knit friendship like this. And these two get really close as the season goes along, and
yeah,
I like it. They're too good together. Like they're a dangerous duo.
Yeah, and it's gonna reach kind of a peak in a later episode, a really good episode, but we'll get to that.
I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. I know it is.
Yeah,
it'll be fun. I like this episode a lot.
But yeah.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah.
I know you're fine. I was gonna say that this episode was actually pretty hilarious, and we know now with Bear RV and who she ends up with, it's definitely not Tetris. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah,
because it reminds of that meme we had made like years ago when we was in
oh my god, no, forget it.
Getting gear.
Oh no, what have we done?
And it shouldn't be a spoiler to anybody who Bear RV hooks up with, because I mean we just watch our Go-Kaiser podcast and you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not that hard to figure out from Go-Kaiser. But yeah, like I was saying, I like the Saki Mew centricness of this. I really enjoyed, their connection in here. I wasn't a big fan of the Bear RV love story plot, though, to be honest with y'all. It didn't really do it for me at all. It was just kind of...
Yeah, it's just Go-Onger goofiness.
Saki and Mew kind of interacting and bonding over it.
Yeah, that was the high point of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the stupidity of it. Like, the monster is in love with Bear RV, and they use Jetrus's engine soul and Bear RV's cast to lure the monster out. Like, that's just typical Go-Onger hijinks, and you gotta love them at this point.
I love that the reason Bear RV ended up stop having a crush on Jetrus is because she didn't like how he did her VVV thing. It's like, you petty little car, you.
But I only did it because they did it, to fake the enemy out, and she's like, I don't care. I'm like, it wasn't even real.
Riz, were you going to say anything else?
No, I said my piece.
Okay. But yeah, I'm thinking like the lowest I want to give this episode is an 8, but honestly, a lot of the stuff that I found was just so entertaining that I feel really tempted to just give it a 9 because of Mew and Saki's moments.
Yeah, I think this is Mew's fully accepting the Go-Ongers as proper partners episode, and it works well because, like I said, her and Saki's friendship becomes one of the best parts of the show going forward. So this is an 8 for me.
I'm gonna go with an 8. This would have been a 9, like Nathan wants to try and do, but the Bear RV subplot just didn't do it for me, so I can't justify it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna give it an 8 as well because, like I say, it was a pretty good episode, but I think it's not a 9 for me personally either.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, now we're going to move on to GP27, Granddaughter Hanto, which is filler episode revolving around Hanto, as you can guess from the title. In this episode, Hanto gets mistaken for an old woman's granddaughter. She's actually a witch from the junk world who's working with the Gaiark, and Hanto tries to help her out. Two notable things. So Yogostein takes a brief leave of absence from the Gaiark in this episode because he's still mourning over Hiramechimedes, and he promises he's going to return. And one other thing, so technically this episode has some elements adapted into RPM. You might remember that really weird behind the scenes episode and action. Well, they used the monster suit from this episode in that episode. I want to think that maybe they took footage from this episode and meant to have it in a normal episode, but then repurposed it. And that probably isn't too far-fetched to think if you know just how much of a mess RPM was from behind the scenes. But but technically this monster didn't appear in a normal RPM episode. What do we think about this one, guys?
The only thing I really want to note is I actually kind of like how Yogostein's not taking Hiramechimedes' death very well. Because when there's like a very stereotypical thing amongst Sentai villains that when one of their own like major generals or whatever gets killed, the others just kind of laugh it off as, so you're so weak, and then they just walk away and it doesn't bother them. But to see them actually give a crap about one another, it's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
I don't really know what I can say about this one. I mean, it's not a bad episode. It's just Honto being Honto, and it's kind of charming in a Go-Onger bizarre type of way, how his relationship with the old woman works, but it's not bad, but there's not much else I can say. It's just Honto being Honto at this point.
Yeah, I didn't really. We started talking about this episode. I had forgotten it even took place. Mm-hmm. So that kind of feeds to the, memorability later down the line.
Yeah.
Kind of felt really bad for Honto in this episode because, he was trying to, comfort this old woman or whatever, only for her to turn out to be, working for the Guy arc in some way. She's not a Diarchian, if that's the right term.
Yeah.
She's from Junk World. She's a completely different world. So we've seen Junk World how that looks. So it's like similar to it, but not the same. And I think she also lied about not having a granddaughter either, which is also kind of messed up. It's like, dude, I dressed up as a chick for you. Like, what was this even for?
Yeah, but I don't think it's bad. I'm probably going to I'm thinking either a 7 or an 8. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's not much to this episode to really talk about.
It's going to be a definite 7 for me.
Yeah, I would go there too.
Riz?
Yeah, I'm going to second, third, or whatever that.
7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not much to talk about there. So now we can move on to GP28, Partner Gunpei, which is a filler episode revolving around Gunpei, where he has to team up with his old police partner to solve a case when the Guy arc start kidnapping people. We actually find out in a flashback here that Gunpei claimed he was a detective, but he was actually a beat cop, though he apparently was supposed to be promoted to detective after he left the force. And while he was a beat cop, he had a lot of encounters with the Guy arc, and he eventually ran into the Go-Ongers, that being Sosuke, Saki, and Ren. And because the police couldn't do anything to fight the Guy arc, Gunpei felt that the police were useless, and he left the force in order to become a Go-Onger himself to fight the Guy arc, which is what leads to where he gets to in the first episode. So yeah, that's all to note about this one. What do we think about this one for Gunpei, guys?
Honestly, this is the first time that Gunpei had an episode where I didn't feel irritated with it, like as a focus, because it wasn't a bad episode for him. It kind of gave some insight into his past, but it wasn't a very interesting episode, in my opinion. It was just kind of there
I mean, at least they played it straight for once with him.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm grateful for, is that he had a decent character moment where he was being what I wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that works in his favor, but the story itself was kind of boring, to be honest with you.
Honestly, it's not a bad episode, and I think it does give a little bit more into him, but it's a case of too little too late. Because we've had so many bad episodes. We've had so many bad focus episodes for him that, oh, well, you finally got one. Congratulations. You got 1 out of 6.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not only that, but this episode, I mean, even the ending is also trying really hard to be another one of those Gunpei episodes, because it's revealed that, like, oh, they find out Gunpei isn't actually a detective, and the other Go-Ongers start making fun of him for it. It's, again, one of those things where Gunpei has to be the butt of a joke. And it's not as bad as it is in previous episodes, but yeah, it feels like they kind of remembered at the end, oh yeah, that's right, we're supposed to make Gunpei miserable, right? And then they came up with that. Yeah. That part of the ending kind of bugged me a little bit.
I'll kind of excuse that, because it does kind of make sense for these guys to find out, oh, well, you fibbed your backstory a little bit. We're going to give you crap for it.
Yeah, I guess. It's not as egregious as some of Gunpei's other stuff. But I still kind of want to give it an 8 out of 10, because it's not bad. It's good for Gunpei. And yeah, the previous episodes kind of hurt it a bit, but if I look at it by itself, I mean, it's good enough to be an 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give it 8. I'll give it a 8 as well.
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna go with a 7.
That's fair. Okay, now let's move on to these next 2 episodes have some bigger stuff to talk about. But for GP29, we have Stop Hiroto, which is the debut of a new mech, and it's a Hiroto-centric episode where Mew gets injured by Yogostein's new barbaric Bankiju, and Hiroto is trying to unlock this new weapon to defeat it. So yeah, Yogostein returns in this episode. He's completely changed. He believes that his trust in Hiramechimedes made him weak, so he takes on this much more ruthless nature, and he's gone from wanting to pollute the earth to destroy all humans. We get a new kind of mech in this episode. I guess the mech that we can kind of compare it the most to that we've seen here on Toku Secrets is Tetra Boy from Jetman. It's kind of a boy type mech. It's called Go Rotor GT. This was called the Road Attack Sword in RPM. It's a wheel-like mech that was created by Jumbo Whale. And when it activates at first, it rampages out of control, and Hiroto can't control it. But then the Go-Ongers tame it with a special soul that Ring created called the Token Soul. And with the Token Soul, Go Rotor is able to enlarge, and when it enlarges, it can transform into an action mode. It's this agile robot-like warrior mode that can fight alongside Engine OG9 formation, which, by the way, what do we think about Go Rotor GT, guys?
A wheel thing that gets limbs never looks right. I'm sorry. It looks misshapen.
Yeah, it's all right, but it's not like amazing good, you know?
Yeah.
I think it looks a little bit better than Tackle Boy or whatever, the warrior wheel from Zeo. I think it was called Tackle Boy in O-Ranger.
I think it's called Warrior Wheel in Zeo, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
I think so.
Tackle Boy. Was that what? Yeah, he was called Tackle Boy. Oh, yeah. Okay. I forgot how ugly Tackle Boy was.
Yeah, this one looks a little. This one looks a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I didn't really feel like I wanted to get this as part of like my Go-Onger mech collection, and why. Yeah, for those who wonder, like, why didn't you do Go Rotor GT when you reviewed all the Go-Onger mechs? Well, one, I don't have Go Rotor GT, and 2, I'm not a big fan of it. There you go.
Get wrecked, nerd.
I think it
Exactly.
looks cool, but that's just me though.
I mean, I get like I don't know, like mechs that kind of have that artificial intelligence stuff. Like there's a bunch of Sentai that have this. Like ironically enough, in the next Sentai, we'll get that with Daigoyo and Go Sager does it too. With this didn't appear in Megaforce, but it was the robot form of Datus, that talking arcade machine. And those mechs are kind of hit and miss. And I actually do like Daigoyo's mecha form. I don't think we talked about that much when we were talking about Shinkenger.
How is, just out of curiosity, how is the one from Go-Go 5, the Titanium Rangers mech?
Oh, that one's pretty cool. I like that one. The Liner Boy. Yeah.
Liner Boy.
Oh, that's what he was called in Go-Go 5? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this one, I mean, again, I don't think it's as bad as Tackle Boy, but it's a mech that just kind of exists for me.
I mean, in general, I didn't really care for that line of mech to begin with, like the one in O-Ranger or Jetman. I think I liked him better in Jetman, honestly, when it was Tetra Boy, but I liked it less here than I did there, and I can't really put my finger on it, except that it just feels boring to me.
Yeah,
Tetra Boy at least had that cool thing of it being like a boxer, or it was like bouncing around and always moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, to me, it just seemed like it was kind of just, I don't want to say it's unoriginal, but it just didn't seem to have anything to it. Plus, it doesn't seem to combine as far as I can tell.
Yeah, the only thing about Go Rotor GT is it kind of has this one cool thing, but we'll talk about that when we get to the next episode. But to wrap up the information on this one, so with the Go-Ongers having been able to help tame Go Rotor GT, Hiroto develops some more admiration for them and decides to give them Go Rotor GT, although he puts them through some rough training to end it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, what do we think about this one, guys?
I love the development for Hiroto in this. I thought this is the kind of stuff we needed from him because, you know, Mew had already kind of felt more at home with the Go-Ongers. Like, she was friendly with them, she hangs out with them, she talks to them. But Hiroto still had that chip off his shoulder. He didn't want to interact with them too much, and he always felt like he was better than them, even after all the things they've been through together. So having a moment where they could just be was nice. You know, like just, it was nice to see him interact with them and respect them and even trust him with the Go Rotor GT that he built. And also, I do want to stop and talk about the fact that I also like that he is shown to have that level of intelligence and skill and engineering to even do this kind of stuff. Because it's not something that I expected from him before this episode.
Yeah, I get that. Like, it's kind of weird because, like, you know, we were talking in the previous episode when we were doing the tier rankings on how one of the reasons why Sosuke works as opposed to like some of these other airhead kind of idiot reds is that they're not trying to God mode Sosuke. It does feel like they're trying to God mode Hiroto in some ways, but I think it's more in like the context of like a Tony Stark type of God moding where he's a skilled fighter and he's a genius, but it kind of works. Like Hiroto is like, you get what I'm trying to say in like the Tony Stark, Reed Richards type of thing.
He can do a little bit of everything, but he obviously has flaws that he's too arrogant to acknowledge.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like Tony Stark, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that this kind of sets the stage for like him being like, obviously he's still going to be a little arrogant here and there, but I do think what I really like about this, at least as far as I remember from the series, is that this is kind of the beginning of him where Yeah, he still kind of messes with the Go-Ongers and, will take some petty jabs at them like an arrogant older brother. But I feel like from this episode forward, he does kind of have a lot more respect for them, even if he's not going to directly admit it. Kind of like how Eric in Time Force, in the later episodes of Time Force was a bit, he did care about the Rangers, but he would never actually admit it overtly, but you could kind of tell. It's kind of similar with that with Hiroto.
Oh yeah, I could definitely tell with that.
It's just, I find it hilarious that watching this while we're simultaneously reviewing in real time with Boom Boomger, this is how Boom Violet should have been handled. Right here.
100%.
Look at how long it took for us to get from Hiroto being, I don't want anything to do with you guys, to, you know what, you guys are all right. It took them, how long is this? What episode is this? 29? It took them like, what, 15 episodes instead of 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, how they went about this, whereas like, him and Mew have always fought together. And then she gets injured and he goes on a rampage and he sees their team camaraderie like save him. And then like he's like, okay, maybe I am stubborn. And yeah, like you said, from here on out, they're not one unit, but the Go on Wings definitely, casually hang out. Because just like skipping ahead to the next episode, we see them hanging out inside of their van with them. Having like a mission briefing thing in the next episode, which is something that never happens before this. So this is like, I wouldn't necessarily say this is like the ending to Hiroto's character development, but it's like
what do you call it, the next level?
Yes, because
for sure,
man. After this one and that episode we reviewed at the very beginning of this one with Mew and Saki, man, these guys are good Six Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. You guys pretty much said what I was gonna say. Yeah, Hiroto's development definitely, they showed a lot here, and it is special. I was like angry right there with him when it came to Mew being hurt, because like that made me mad for real.
Yeah, don't attack Mew and expect to survive.
Exactly.
But honestly, the only other thing I could say is that I like how, I mean, maybe I should have said this in the previous one when we were doing our tier rankings of the characters, but I do like how Hiroto and Mew are very like distinct type of characters. Like Mew gets some of her focus episodes and Hiroto gets some of his, and they each go through different character arcs. Like, sure, they're both the Go on Wings, but they're separate. Whilst in RPM, and this is going to kind of count against RPM heavily, like Jim and Gemma, let's be real here. Jim and Gemma are just one character split into two. Like,
I mean, they tried to change that later in the season, but it was kind of a little bit too late for it to really have any impact.
Yeah.
Because Jem did have that really good episode where like he got with Scott. Like that episode was actually pretty good. And then Gemma and Flynn had that episode. Was it this thing in our?
It was the episode.
Yeah, it was this thing.
The Rotor GT's RPM counterpart, where they were working on it, where they had a good bonding moment. But by the time those things happened, RPM was pretty much near its end. So
yeah. And if you want to, I mean, to be fair, Gemma also got some kind of moments to shine a little bit when she came back for Dimensions in Danger, but but that's about it. Like ultimately, Jim and Gemma are just one character split into two. And ironically enough, I think RPM seems to be kind of aware of that because they don't give Jim and Gemma their separate credits like they do with Hiroto and Mew. They're just credited the same, like together.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, that's what I really like about Hiroto and Mew. That like they're not like Mew is not just a female version of Hiroto, and Hiroto is not a male version of Mew. They're both very distinct, separate characters, and that's something I can really appreciate about them.
Yeah, and they've had conflict with one another too. Like they're not always on good terms.
Yeah,
and that adds like they have their dynamic with the Go-Ongers, but then they have their own dynamic with each other.
Yep. But yeah, this episode might be probably one of the best episodes of the series. The more I think about it, and
yes,
yeah, it's a 10 for me.
Yeah, and it's not even like the thing I like the most about this episode was Hiroto realizing, that the Go-Ongers were actually, that he's actually okay with them. It wasn't that he was like yelled at and be told, and explained everything. When they jumped in front of the rotor and blocked it for him, like you could see the light bulb go off in his head. And then when Ren gave him the soul to power it, saying, "Oh, hey, I fixed this for you," you could just see the smirk on his face under his helmet when he's like, "Okay, you guys win." Like, yeah, it was their actions that won him over, and not someone telling it to him. Like he learned that lesson himself willingly, and that's just good writing. That's just really good writing.
It really was, yeah.
This is a 10. This episode's a 10.
10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Everybody want to hear me? I say a 10.
It's a 10. Hey, Anthony, what's your score?
You know what? No. I'm not playing these games with you.
All right, let's move on to the last one for this batch, GP30 Punch of Friendship, which is a Sosuke-centric filler episode where Sosuke and Speedor get into this falling out, and this happens when Sosuke gets turned into kind of a punk by this stimulant that was meant for the latest Bankiju. The only thing to note about this, which is something I kind of hinted at, and this is probably one of the admittedly cool things about Go Rotor GT, even if the design itself isn't that cool. The Go-Ongers can use Go Rotor GT with one of the engine souls. And when they do that, Go Rotor GT can become a temporary anthropomorphic body for the engines. So in this case, they put Speedor soul into Go Rotor GT, and this allows Speedor as Go Rotor GT to fight alongside Sosuke. So that's pretty cool. But the downside to this is that using Go Rotor GT drains the soul's power temporary, and the engines get weakened. So it's kind of it's got a bit of a drawback to it. But yeah, that's
actually, there's a correction, Nate.
Yeah.
Sosuke unwillingly used Rotor GT on for Speedor because he didn't know what was going to happen. He was just kind of testing out, which was kind of like annoying to me a bit because I was like, dude, you could just ask him like, hey, can you try? Let's try this, please. He just kind of just did it without even asking permission, and then he just
Yeah, I know, but we find out later in the episode that that's what Go Rotor GT can do.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's pretty cool because it allows for an engine to fight alongside and do a post with the Go-Ongers, which that's actually kind of cool, even if it's not what the coolest thing.
That point is kind of one of the reasons why I think this is probably the best use of this thing going forward, because to give Speedor the moment of smacking sense back into Sosuke was great, because it's something that wouldn't have been able to happen before.
Yeah,
and giving him like a physical body for a little bit of time to fight alongside Sosuke like that was great. Also, Sosuke has a really good Kiryu from Yakuza look in this episode. The white suit and the sunglasses.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You also notice how smart he was, especially when he was doing that whole scam thing.
Yeah, I know. Also, Mew
I
was
know
hilarious.
Eddie from Ed and Eddie was like taking notes.
Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, no, Eddie was like, wait a minute. Also, Mew was hilarious in this episode. Like,
Mew is
we're
fantastic.
yeah, I'll never forgive you for making Sosuke cool, and then like Saki just drops her gun. Like, what?
What?
It's like that thing of Mew kind of having a crush on Sasuke kind of bled into this episode and made everybody confused.
That was something I didn't know. That was something I didn't know I needed in this episode was Mew having a thing for Sosuke.
It's like
they just never
seen the whole episode.
Yeah.
But honestly, that plot, which there's going to be other episodes that kind of revolve around that actually kind of really works because they're both kind of polar opposites. Like Mew is a very smart, intelligent person, and I guess the fact that the only man that she's really spent so much time around being Hiroto, who's like this very intelligent Tony Stark type of guy, obviously seeing someone who's as dumb and kind of simple-minded but charming as Sosuke, yeah, I can totally dig it. I can definitely get behind that ship like 100%. But yeah, the only thing I'm gonna say is that I think the whole the catalyst getting into a fight was kind of a little. I get what Anthony was saying that like Sosuke put Speedor's soul into the Go Rotor GT without asking, and then it just kind of created problems. But here's the thing, Speedor, you've been Sosuke's partner for a little while, and you kind of know that he's an idiot, so shouldn't you expect him to do some stuff like that?
That's why I cheered Bomper on for calling him out. Bomper wasn't having any of that crap.
Yeah, but I don't let that ruin the episode for me too much because it does make for a good moment when Speedor's able to like snap Sosuke out of a spell. So it's fine. I just wish that maybe Sosuke did something a little too more. I don't know how they could do it. So I guess I'm not going to fault it too much, but it just would have worked a little bit better if Sosuke did something like so monumentally stupid that Speedor is all like, okay, I've put up with you doing so much stuff, but no, I'm out. No, I'm not talking with you ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know, Riz Anthony. I don't know if this episode felt like a Masaru Agumon episode from Savers, where they were just both so hot-headed that they won't acknowledge that they're both wrong.
Yeah. It kind of felt like that. Not gonna lie to you.
This is the moment where you'd have Speedor yelling, "I'm a gay!"
Yeah.
But I still thought it was a solid episode for Sosuke. Like
it was a fantastic episode for Sosuke, to be honest. I really think because the thing about it is Sosuke, we know he's a hothead, but the way he deals with his hotheadedness is not to just be a complete idiot the entire time. Like he seems to learn over time how to get better, which is something that is a great trait to have when you have a hothead red. Because otherwise, you get people like the idiot from the season before.
I know.
And again, there's my subtle jab at the season before.
And again, you can't convince me that Junki Takegami or whatever his last name is, that the head writer for Go-Onger, you can't convince me that he was watching Geki Ranger last year, knowing that he was going to be the head writer of the next season, and he was watching it, and he was just kind of shaking his head like, okay, Michiko, this John guy sucks. He's terrible. And then Michiko Yokote was all like, oh, yeah? Well, do you think that you could do something better? And then he was all like, yeah, I can. And then he made Sosuke. You can't convince me that that didn't happen.
Hold my gear.
Exactly. Oh wait, that was another one of your stupid dad jokes. Damn it!
Took you a little bit on that one.
I was actually thinking it went over your head for a second. I was like, "Dang, this one really flew over your head."
Nah, it took me a second, but it kicked in. But yeah, but yeah, there's not much else to say. It was just a good Sosuke episode. And
I'd give it a 9.
Yeah, 9 for me too.
I'm gonna go 9.5 because it's a really good episode for Sosuke.
I'm gonna give it a 9 as well.
Cool. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this batch. So do we have any extra thoughts we want to add coming off of here before we wrap up, guys?
No, just I forgot how good the character writing in this show can be for the characters that they actually put in the effort to. Like, I know that we give Gunpei crap, but like Sosuke, Hiroto, and Mew are like legitimate, like S tier characters. Well,
yeah, I would probably say that the main 3 Go-Ongers and then the 6th Rangers, like I know that Rin and Saki aren't necessarily S tier characters, but they're at least Bs, so they're decent characters. And Hanto and Gunpei are probably the weaker ones, which. Yeah, it's going to be, when we do a comparison to RPM, it's more than likely going to be Ziggy and Dylan winning those 2 categories.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah, but the main 3 in the Go on Wings are still really great characters. And this batch of episodes, I mean, okay, Rin didn't get an episode to shine, but he got a great episode in at the end of the previous batch. So, yeah, I mean, rewatching this again after like 10 years after I originally watched Go-Onger, I'm being reminded how much I liked a lot of these characters. Riz, did you want to add anything else as the one person who's never seen Go-Onger?
We're fairly tame, minus the last 2. They were pretty high up there. But I'm looking forward to talking about the next batch of episodes when we get to them. And, of course, we got other stuff coming up as well. So, definitely a lot of really good stuff coming up for Go-Ons during the next couple of batches we got.
Yep. So, yeah, to kind of preview what we're going to be taking a look at, just to wrap up here, guys. So our next 2 Go-Onger podcasts are going to be pretty cool because we're going to look at the Go-Onger movie next. We're going to do that because, I don't know, we've decided that we should start taking a look at some of the movies. And the Go-Onger movie is actually pretty cool. So we'll be taking a look at that one. And then we got, when we return to Go-Onger proper, we'll be taking a look at 31 through 36. And that's going to be really great because we're going to get another mech and the debut of the final mecha. After that,
Keisha Moss T-Line and K-Line debut in the next batch.
Yep.
Sweet. Cool.
Yep. And, after that, we might have some slightly more tame podcasts, kind of like this one for the next 2 ones before the end game, but still going to be a lot of fun. We're definitely looking forward to bringing a lot more Go-Onger stuff for you. And what is the next Sentai after that? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. We got a lot of stuff planned for you guys to the end of 2024, as well as to way through the beginning of 2025. We definitely got a lot of stuff planned for you guys. And we thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to us. And we will see you guys next time when we revisit Go-Onger. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other Tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of Tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.